Hey, let's add a new section to the blockchain test for the replace chain functionality. To replace a chain for an instance of the blockchain, we're going to use a replace chain function. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse all of these blocks. Visual Studio Code has this nice feature. And then after the isValidChain tests, let's add one for replace chain, where the C is capitalized in chain since this is a camel-cased method name. Cool. Now, as seen, every test in this file is going to have a fresh instance of the blockchain. This is great because we're going to call blockchain.replaceChain and then input a new chain array as the argument to check if this original blockchain's instance, or rather blockchain instance chain, gets actually replaced or not. So since we already have an original blockchain to work with, we need to create a second instance called newChain, which will be used as the new incoming chain. So let's make a newChain variable available, and then we'll call newChain is a new blockchain in the original before each method. Cool. So now we can get to the test cases for the replace chain functionality. You might recall from the overview on chain replacement that we don't want to replace a chain if the incoming one is not longer. So we'll describe a situation when the new chain is not longer. We'll have our callback as the second parameter to the describe as usual. All right, cool. And then what we want to assert is that the chain does not get replaced. So we'll say that the method, it does not replace the chain. And then the JavaScript function as the second parameter to the it block as well. So now that we have this case where the new chain is not longer, well, we need to cover the case where the chain is longer. So we'll describe when the chain is longer. Here's the callback. Now, if the incoming chain is longer, the chain replacement should go through as long as the incoming chain is actually valid. So this gives us two scenarios within this describe block to consider. First, whether the chain is invalid, and second, if the chain is valid. So let's describe a situation wherein the chain is invalid. And then the second situation, we have, and the chain is valid, so it's okay. Cool. So when the chain is invalid, well, it shouldn't replace a chain either. So go ahead and copy that it block and paste it within the chain is invalid case. But if the chain is valid, well, it should replace a chain. So we'll say it does replace the chain. We can actually shorten this to it replaces the chain. All right, nice. So that covers all the testing scenarios that we're concerned with a replace chain function. Now let's fill in these scenarios with expect statements. First up, let's get to the test case where the new chain is not longer. We already have a good setup for this with our blockchain and our new chain instances. The new chain instance doesn't have any new blocks added to it yet, so its chain is not longer than the original blockchain. So as our first call, let's call blockchain.replaceChain, and the argument is going to be the new chain's .chain array. And the result is that the blockchain's chain should remain the same. So how are we going to check that blockchain's chain did not change? Can we just look at blockchain.chain? Well, to truly check that the chain hasn't changed, we can get a copy of the chain before we call replace chain. So we can get the original chain and memorize that with an original chain variable. And then what we can do is that we can say, well, in between, or rather at the end, that original chain is equal to the blockchain.chain. Cool. And we'll expect that even after calling blockchain.replaceChain with this new chain.chain, we'll expect that the blockchain.chain actual value is equal to our expected value of the original chain variable. Cool. Now, there is one slight mishap with how we've structured this test. Since the new chain's chain array is identical technically to the blockchain's chain at this point, the test is always going to pass because even if that chain gets replaced, it's the same chain in terms of how it looks. So a real test would be to call replace chain with a different chain of the same length. And we can do that by changing our first line to modify the new chain's chain array to an object that says new chain. Cool. So now when we call blockchain.replaceChain, we're going to be doing it with a chain array that actually differs from what the blockchain's chain already looks like. Nice. So that covers the first test case. And now we get to the test case where the chain is longer. To be more precise, when the new chain is longer. So feel free to update that string. We already have some code where we are adding a bunch of blocks. So let's go ahead and copy that. And we'll place that within a new before each where the new chain is longer. So let's add a before each block. And then we'll paste in that code. And instead of adding to the original blockchain instance, we want the new chain to be long. So we're going to add each of these blocks to the new chain array of Bears, Beats, and Battlestar Galactica. So now let's go to the invalid case. In this case, we want one of the hashes to be incorrect, something that will make the actual block invalid. So how about accessing the item at index 2 and then changing its hash to some fake hash. And then if we call blockchain.replaceChain with the new chain's chain array, well, the blockchain.chain should still be equal to the original chain. So essentially we're doing the same kind of check as our existing one, calling the replace chain method, but making sure that the blockchain's chain remains unaffected. Nice. But now in this case, if the chain is valid, nothing has been invalidated or messed with or tampered with. If we call blockchain.replaceChain on the new chain.chain, well, this time we're going to expect the blockchain.chain to actually equal the new chain.chain. So in this case, the blockchain.chain should equal the new chain.chain. So make sure you have those changes. And once you're ready, you can fire npm run tests in the command line. So have all of these test cases where the chain is valid, the chain is invalid, within the new chain being longer, as well as the new chain not being longer, and all of that setup. And then once you're ready, you might already have the npm run test command going in the background. Otherwise, fire it within the CryptoChain project. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to add this replace chain function because currently it does not exist. So in the blockchain.js file, let's add a replace chain method. And this is not going to be a static method because replacing the chain is based on an individual instance of the blockchain. And this is going to take in an incoming chain as its argument. Cool. So as we save this, this actually brings us to one failing test where it checks that the chain gets replaced when the chain is valid. Because after all, we haven't implemented any chain replacement code. So all those test cases which are checking that the chain remains the same, well, technically they should be passing because the chain is remaining the same no matter what we pass into the replace chain method. But let's turn the tables on this by saying by default, this is going to replace the local blockchain's chain array with the incoming chain argument. And as we save this, well, the tables have turned, we get a bunch of tests failing, which check that the chain remains the same. So what we have to do is we have to enforce the rules where the chain does not get replaced if it doesn't follow the rules for replacing the chain. And the first thing that we need to check is, well, if the incoming chain.length is less than or equal to the current chain's length, so this .chain.length, let's make sure that this functionality does not execute by adding a return statement, which is going to escape out of the function early before this line gets a chance to fire. And as we save that, we're now isolated to one overall failing test, which means that our test, which checks that the chain does not get replaced if the incoming chain is not longer than the current chain, is passing. So cool. We have one more similar condition to check. We don't want to replace a chain if the incoming one is invalid. So let's call if not blockchain.isValidChain on the incoming chain meaning we're using the existing isValidChain static method in the blockchain class to validate this incoming chain. If that essentially returns false, which we can check with this bang operator, well, we should also return out of this function early. And as we do so, well, we get a fully green test suite. Excellent. So that completes this chain replacement functionality. Now, as part of this, it'd be nice to have some console output which tells us which rule was violated when trying to replace a chain. This will just be more informative when we actually develop an application to help us know whether or not chains get replaced as multiple blockchains are interacting. So in this case, if the chain length is not longer, let's use the error output. We'll call console.error and say the incoming chain must be longer. I'll also enlarge this window a little bit so it's more visible. And likewise, in this case, let's console.error, the incoming chain must be valid. So this adds some error output to enforce these rules. Cool. And finally, if the chain is valid, let's console.log that the chain is being replaced with what is coming in. We'll say replacing chain with, and then the second argument can be that actual chain object itself. Nice. So we see all of this output in the test for each one of the relevant cases. And this is great to see. It's going to be extremely useful to see this when the application is actually running outside of the test environment. But we wouldn't want to see this huge output dump every time we have to run the test. It really, clogs up the command line. So as a solution, next up, we can use a stubbing strategy to quiet this output. With stubs on the console output and error output, we can even run assertions that the console was used in certain cases. So we'll still know that the console.log on the console.error has happened, even if they're not outputting to the console within the test running environment. All right, see you in the next one.